You feel it? It's fucking here, man. UFC 308. I can't wait. I'm giving you my picks and predictions for the UFC 308 card in Abu Dhabi, featuring Max Holloway versus Ilia Topuria in the main event, Khamzat Chimaev in the co-main, two of the most anticipated fights of all of 2024, maybe of this decade so far. This is going to be a crazy card. Now, I know we always get some fuck shit in Abu Dhabi, but I don't know that there's much other than a robbery that can ruin this co-main and main event for anybody. It's going to be awesome. Please don't hurt my Pookie Bear, Rob Whittaker. Now, later this week, I will be coming out with a more detailed prediction. It's going to be about a 10 to 15 minute prediction on Ilia Topuria versus Max Holloway. I'm also going to do the same thing for Khamzat Chimaev, Robert Whittaker, so stay tuned there. I'm going to tell you who my early lean is right now. Now, all the other picks I have locked in. I'm picking them. The co-main's locked in. The main event I have gone back and forth so many times, so I'm going to give you a pick today, but make sure you check out that detailed prediction coming later this week, because things may change. I have gone back and forth on it 15 different times, and I don't know who I'm going to pick until I get to it in this video, honestly. But let's just get right into it. This card is stacked. A lot of OVs. Starts at 10 o'clock Eastern, so make sure you're up and at 'em, because this is going to be a banger. The first fight of the night. It was supposed to be Rinat Fakhretdinov versus Sultan Ruziboyev, and I was going to go with Fakhretdinov based off the fact that I thought he was going to be able to grapple Nursultan Royziboyev. I thought Ruziboyev was pretty easy to take down, and even though it was Joaquin Buckley doing it, who I think is a, top 10 welterweight, really, really talented guy, and I just don't know that Renat's there, I still thought Rinat was going to be able to get him to the ground, no problem. Now we're looking at a Carlos Leal fight. Now this guy, physical prime. Allegedly he's on the juice, but I'm not going to take that into consideration because I got a feeling Rinat, while he might not physically look like he's on the juice, something's off about this guy, all right? I'm just going to say that, okay? Now, Carlos Leal, big power puncher. He's got a little jiu-jitsu. He's got some jiu-jitsu. Nothing crazy, but he really is a power puncher. We're going to show you what's happened here in the past couple of... Listen, when he gets into slugfest, he knocks people out, plain and simple. His losses, a lot of them, one came from a submission, obviously, but the other four were by decision. When we look at the guys that he's fought, dude, these are not competitive fighters. In the UAE Warriors, got a first round knockout. It's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to do the same thing here in LFA, which LFA is a little bit of a better promotion. Now, Saidabu Sai, he lost a split decision to, and I thought Sai won pretty clearly. Sai's alright. He's a really, really good striker, someone that is dangerous, someone that's fast, but he is older. Now, when you look at the other guys he's fought, like Daniel Zawada, not really a stud. Got a second round knockout over Delano Taylor. I don't even know who the fuck that is. Now, I know Carlos Leal has crazy power, but I think Rinat has a really good chin, and what beats him is just stopping his takedowns. I just don't know that we're looking at a guy in Carlos Leal that's going to stuff the takedowns from Rinat Fakhretdinov. I think that Fakhretdinov is going to be able to implement his grappling, and Fakhretdinov, while his punches look fucking terrible, the guy's got power in that first round, man. He does. He always comes into these situations where he's hurting people in the first round with a straight punch down the middle. Did it to Dalby. He did it to Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos. And his grappling is very solid. He's got great top control. He has good control, and he's fought guys that have really good takedown defense, far better takedown defense than Carlos Leal. When I'm looking at the guys that he's fought, Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos isn't someone that, people don't really implement their game plans too well against them. They always have to go to the other bags of tricks to find a way to win, and, Fakhretdinov ended up with a draw here, but he had a really good first round. Then he has a split decision to Dalby, which I did think Rinat won. It was a close fight, but, he's fighting tough competition here. Split against Dalby. That's a tough fight. Nicholas Dalby has made things tough on people. Really, really good takedown defense. Gabriel Bonfim was having trouble with this guy, getting him down. And then you get Fakhretdinov able to push Nicholas Dalby against the fence and kind of stall out the fight there, which I know not a lot of us like to see, but that's kind of what's been happening. He also has a good submission over Kevin Lee. After rocking Kevin Lee right off the bat, he smushed Brian Battle, not to, snooky smoosh in this thing. Been watching some South Park, so that's just been in my head. But he literally smudged Brian Battle right into the canvas. And here's the highlight right here of him just knocking down Kevin Lee. Listen, this guy's fought, Renat's fought good competition. I mean, look, it's Mihailidis, who, again, not a stud, but, he's a guy in the UFC. He's been there for a little bit. Brian Battle, Kevin Lee, Zaleski dos Santos, Dalby. These are really good names that he's got wins over. Carlos Leal just hasn't fought the same level of competition, and I think Carlos Leal can very easily gas out in this fight, and I think he's going to run into problems with Renat Fakhretdinov holding him against the fence. And let's be real, we're in Abu Dhabi. Renat's got an OV at the end of his name, so everyone's going to act like he's a hometown fighter, so he's going to get the hometown cooking. If this goes to a decision, it's probably going to go Renat's way if it's close. And I do think it's going to go to decision. I think Renat's going to stall at the fight, and I don't think he's going to get pulled off the cage in this fight. I think he's going to be able to hold Carlos Leal there, and they're just going to let it go because they want Renat to win. I'm going Renat Fakhretdinov to win. Carlos Leal's dangerous in those first couple minutes, but I think that Renat's going to be able to kind of stand there and not get knocked out and then implement his grappling and really tire out Carlos Leal. I'm going Renat Fakhretdinov by decision. Ismail Narudiev, I can never pronounce this guy's name. I don't know why. Versus Bruno Silva. Bruno Silva sucks, guys. Like, he's over the hill, and I get his last couple losses. Like, Chris Weidman, I poked the fucking shit out of him really badly, multiple times. But, like, he didn't put away an old man, Chris Weidman. And I get Weidman's a little, not the Lucas Tracy thing. He's a crafty vet, man. But I don't trust Bruno Silva's game here. I think he's going to struggle trying to get these takedowns. I don't think he's going to get them. I don't think he's going to do much on the ground there. Does he have the chance to knock out Ismail Naurdiev? Of course he does. Everyone does. It's just a fight. But I like this, man. I like that Naurdiev, he was in the UFC before, and he fought his way back, which is a big thing. He was in there when he was young. Now he's 28. He's coming into his physical and athletic prime. They get the same reach. He's definitely shorter, but I think Naurdiev has more power, and I think he's the more technical and better striker. And listen, if this goes to the judges' scorecards, again, I think they're going to pick the guy that's Austrian over the guy that's Brazilian. It's just what happens when we go to Abu Dhabi. But he got a submission victory here with a guillotine. Got nasty, nasty guillotine. He had an armbar, or lost by an armbar submission here. Got knocked out in Brave. Like, listen, he's lost to some guys. But Brave, they're not the worst. All right? They're all right. But, I look at this prior career. And, this dude went 2-2 in the UFC, beating Prazeres, who at the time, again, not a ranked guy, but he was just a guy in the division that had always been hanging around and did have some danger to him. Racontre, that's not a good one, but again, it went to a decision. He was young. Dude, he's 28 now. It was 2019. Dude, this kid was 23 when he was fighting in the UFC in his last stint. Then he goes and fights Sair Bahazul, wins a decision. And then he loses a decision to Sean Brady at 24 years old. I don't hate that, man. I really don't. This guy's training, he's getting better. Coming off a submission win. Fought in December, he's had time to rest. He's been preparing for a fight. He's been preparing for a fight at this weight. At middleweight. Listen, he was supposed to fight, I think, on the Contender Series also. So he's been prepared. He's been in camp, and I like his striking. I like the improvements he's made. I don't think he's going to get taken down by Bruno Silva here. Even if Bruno Silva does take him down, he's going to shoot a bad double leg, and Ismail Naurdiev might be able to get the guillotine. And in Abu Dhabi, if he has that guillotine locked in and it looks like it's in for 30 seconds, that's going to score better than Bruno Silva laying in full guard doing nothing for the entire round. So I'm going to go with Naurdiev. I think he's actually going to get this one done. I think he's going to get it done by knockout. I do. I think we got two guys that are going to go in there and try and swing it out, and I do think Ishmael, the younger guy, is better. He's probably got the better chin, even though we saw Bruno Silva not get knocked out by fucking Alex Pereira. Pereira did end up taking his chin after, because after that he got knocked down by Mearshart. I know he had a lucky knockout over Brad Tavares, but things haven't looked good for Bruno Silva recently. The momentum's on Naurdiev's side. He's coming off a win. Bruno Silva's coming off a number of losses in a row, and really not against the highest level competition. Shara Boostin, again, not the highest level of and I get it, Shara's better than Naurdiev, but you got Chris Weidman, who's old. Brendan Allen, he got subbed by, again, Brendan Allen's good competition, but dude, he's just, I don't like the momentum for Bruno Silva, man. I'm going to go with Nordiev because even if it goes to decision, I think he's going to get the nod from the judges. You're going to see that a lot from me today. I'm going to go with the guys that seem a little bit more native to the area because that's just how some of these Abu Dhabi cards go sometimes, man. I mean, you can say you don't like it all you want, but like Ankalaev should have got DQ'd against Johnny Walker. Chimaev probably lost rounds 2 and 3 against Usman, but got given one of those rounds in order to get the victory. We see it a lot, dude. We really do. We see the fence grabs. We see the eye pokes, the nut shots. All that shit happens. I mean, we're not going to harp on it too much, guys. I'm sorry. I'm not going to harp on it too much, but we're going to move on. Fareed Basharat versus Victor Hugo. Victor Hugo's a live fucking dog, man. Live dog in this fight, plus 450, but... And I'm not big on the Basharat bros. Like, I don't think they're these world beaters, but I do think Farid is better than Javid. I don't think he'll get fraud checked here by Victor Hugo. I think Victor Hugo lets grappling happen a little bit too much. Like, if you're imposing your will and trying to grapple and control, he'll kind of let you do it. He doesn't fight out of it enough. He's kind of just fighting not to go to the ground, not to separate off the cage and start landing damage of his own. I think Farid's going to win a decision here. Maybe, I don't think he's going to get a submission. I don't know if he gets this fight to the ground. I just think he's going to have moments where he's winning this fight in the clinch against the cage. I think he's going to be able to, land some brutal knees to the thigh. Land a couple good elbows up top. And then at range, while I do think Victor Hugo is the better overall striker, especially with his kicks, I do think Farid's just going to be able to land some decent technical shots with the hands that look pretty good. Maybe a couple jabs, like pop the head back of Victor Hugo, and it looks good for the judges there. Farid Basharat's the taller guy, even though he's got a half-inch shorter reach. He's got more UFC experience against better competition. Like Victor Hugo, I think he won a decision against Pedro Falco, or Falcoa, whatever the fuck he's called, but he's good. Like, Victor Hugo is decent. And this is like a plus 450. He's a live dog. It might be worth a little bit of a sprinkle here, but I'm going to go with Farid Basharat. He's fought the better competition. He's had some time off where he can rest and continue to get better. He's 27 years old. I know that Victor Hugo at 31's in, that prime right now, but like Farid Basharat is starting to enter it. He's starting to become like a physically gifted, like he's a man now, or becoming a man now. He's not a boy. Don't get Pat Berry excited, guys. Taylor Lapulus, he got a win over Taylor Lapulus, like that age as well. He finished Clayton Rodriguez with a submission in round 1. I rate a win over Damone Blackshear by decision very highly. And listen, Farid fought this year, Victor Hugo's fought this year, but when I'm looking at who had the more impressive performance, I think Farid looked better against harder competition. So I'm going to go with Farid Basharat to win this fight by decision. And again, we're going to get a situation where if it goes to the judges' scorecards, Farid Basharat's from Afghanistan. He's probably going to get the decision here, but not to say it should be a robbery. It's going to be Farid Basharat. I think he's just going to win this fight 30-27, winning this fight in the clinch against the cage. Kennedy Nzechukwu versus Chris Barnett. We have had this matchup mixed and matched a million times. I'm going with Kennedy Nzechukwu. I can't see how anyone could possibly pick Chris Barnett here. If you're picking him to land a bullshit, terrible spinning wheel kick that somehow lands and Kennedy Nzechukwu's chin goes. But look at this, dude. The height advantage. That's an 8-inch height advantage, dude. That's a 8-inch reach advantage. It's a southpaw versus an orthodox fighter, so it's going to be trickier for Chris Barnett to actually get on the inside and land some of his bigger shots. Chris Barnett doesn't really have technique, and Kennedy Nzechukwu has that high guard, and Chris Barnett's not the kind of guy that's going to go hit you to the body a lot to bring your hands down. So I see a lot of head hunting here early from Chris Barnett. See a lot of blocks from Kennedy Nzechukwu, keeping him on the outside until you see Barnett starts to really tire out and gas out. And I think at the end of the first round, Kennedy Nzechukwu just starts to pour on a combination that literally just doesn't stop until the ref steps in and he gets a end of round 1 TKO. I'm going round 1 TKO Kennedy Nzechukwu. I think it's going to be a flurry of punches that Chris Barnett is unable to get away from. I think you're going to see a couple of really good low kicks early from Kennedy Nzechukwu as well. His jab's going to be working, and Chris Barnett is just really going to struggle to get on the inside. Even in the clinch here, I like the ability for Kennedy Nzechukwu to get the underhooks, turn around, be more physically dominant, and push Barnett against the cage. I get Nzechukwu's coming up from 205, and physically he's a smaller guy, even though he's got the bigger frame advantage tenfold. But I think Nzechukwu is going to fill into this heavyweight pretty well. He's had some time to bulk up here to heavyweight now after his loss to, I think it was Dustin Jacoby. Oh, he lost to Ovince St. Preux, that's right. Lost a split to OSP, but OSP's trickier of a fighter than Chris Barnett. I know it's not great to lose to OSP, but like I'm picking OSP over Chris Barnett, even if it is an open weight fight. Just think Kennedy's going to be able to keep it on the outside, and then when he needs to go land the flurry to finish the fight, he's going to be able to do it. He's going to use a teep kick to the body that's going to bother Chris Barnett, and I think that's really what's going to open up. He's going to see that Chris Barnett's a little bothered by that teep kick, and he's going to keep blasting it and eventually just go in and find the finish with a flurry of punches that ends Chris Barnett. Possible early stoppage. We might get a little bit of a rebuttal here from Chris Barnett, but looking at it, we're going to know that this was the right call. Kennedy and Zechnikou is going to butcher him here. Round 1 TKO. Abus Magomedov versus Bruno Ferreira. It's Abus. I'm telling you right now, I actually think Abus is pretty good, guys. I know he lost and got fraud checked by Sean Strickland, the guy who went on to win the title against Israel Adesanya after they had fought. I know he also lost a decision to Caio Borralho, who is a top 5 ranked middleweight. But other than that, dude, I think he's better than a lot of the other guys in this division. I think that, again, his fight against Warlley Alvarez was not overly impressive, but he won the fight and he did what he had to do. He showed that he can grapple. He showed that his cardio is starting to get better. He can last 3 rounds now. He might get tired at the end of it, but he can last more than a round and a half now. And I actually think Bruno Ferreira is a big, stocky guy that's shorter, has a smaller reach, but likes to throw a lot of power punches on the inside. And I think that's the tailor-made matchup for Abus Magomedov to absolutely starch. Listen, I know both guys tend to get tired, but Bruno Ferreira is the one that's getting tired like in the middle of round 1. And I know we saw that from Abus already. But listen, Abus did go to a decision with Caio Borralho. Whereas I'm looking at these Bruno Ferreira fights, dude, he doesn't go to decision. He got his first round knockout against Dustin Stoltzfus. He got his first round knockout against Phil Haas. He got knocked out by Nursultan Ruzaboyev. He knocked out G-Rod, and then before that he had a first round win in the Contender Series. I think that Abus is going to be able to stay on the outside, land a couple of really good teep kicks. Abus's teep kicks are fast, and I think he's going to end up throwing one up to the chin that catches Bruno Ferreira. That's going to be the first one that kind of shows the chink in the armor. Bruno Ferreira is going to get a little bit of wild swing and try and blitz Abus. Abus is going to get out of the way there and then end up controlling the position in the octagon again, not in the grappling. He might have moments where he pushes Ferreira against the cage, but I don't think he wants to be in that close. I think he's going to be able to have Bruno Ferreira get tired after like a crazy flurry and end up walking him down, start landing big shots up top, land really good kicks, and end up beating Bruno Ferreira. I think Abus Magomedov is tailor-made for a round 1 knockout here. I think this is the bet to make. This is my lock of the card is Abus Magomedov, period. Now, Bruno Ferreira always has a chance to get the knockout. They call him the Hulk for a reason. Like, he fucking smashes. Like, the dude literally busts people's face open. But I think Abus is going to get it done, man. I think he's just a better striker here. I think he has equal level power as Bruno Ferreira. I like the frame advantage that he has, and I like the skill that he's had, and I like his ability to actually go to a decision here. Like, even in that Sean Strickland fight, he got tired later than all of Bruno Ferreira's fights lasted. So I'm just, I don't know that that's entirely accurate, but like, look at, like, 19-second knockout over Dustin Stoltzfus. Dustin Stoltzfus was landing on Bruno Ferreira a couple of times. Sean Strickland, again, in that first round, Abus Magomedov was landing a lot of good shots on Strickland. Now, I know Strickland was letting him kind of tire out, but then you go here against Caio Borralho, and again, Borralho did dominate this fight, but there were a few moments where Abus Magomedov, like, shows that he has some danger. And then Warlley Alvarez, he beat very easily. So, again, it wasn't an impressive performance, but I just think he's got the advantage here, and I don't think that Bruno Ferreira is going to be able to implement his grappling against Abus Magomedov because, I mean, dude, let's be real. He may be from Germany, but he's a Magomedov. That matters. That's going to matter on the scorecards here as well, so if it goes to decision, I think it's going to go towards Abus, but I do think Abus is going to get it done. I don't think this fight goes to decision. I'm going round 1 knockout from Abus Magomedov, probably about 3.5 minutes in. That's when I see this happening. So to this point, not a single underdog picked. That changes. I like Maidelbek Orobai, but I think this is Mateusz Rebecki's matchup to get. I really do. I think Rebecki is, I still think he's really good. Everyone's like, dude, he lost to Carlos Diego Ferreira. Dude, Carlos Diego Ferreira would give Maidelbek Orobai just as hard of a fucking fight. And Maidelbek Orobai wouldn't give Carlos Diego Ferreira the beating that Mateusz Rebecki did in the first round. Now, I think Orolbai is a guy that has tremendous grappling, and he just does not quit. But there are strikes that can make you wilt. Not in terms of quitting in the fight, but make you physically unable to implement a game plan or physically unable to be as dominant or as much of a dog as you'd like to be. And that's the inside low kick. I see Mateusz Rebecki stuffing some takedowns early, landing elbows off the break, and blasting that inside low kick to the point where Majdelbek Orolbai is not going to be able to push off of that front leg, because I think Orolbai is going to stand in that orthodox stance, and that inside leg is going to get kicked. He's not going to be able to do a good job pushing off of it, and I think this is going to make it harder. If he can't get the takedowns, Rebecki's going to tee off on him on the feet. And I think Rebecki's still very good. I think his striking's good. He's got crazy power. He's got good low kicks. He's good at takedown defense. I get that Carlos Diego Ferreira took him down, but Rebecki gassed out because he thought he was going to finish Carlos Diego Ferreira multiple times. And Carlos Diego Ferreira is a very tough fight, and Rebecki made it to the end after getting battered. No, he didn't. He actually got finished in the third round, I think, now that I'm thinking about it. Yeah, he got finished in like the last 9 seconds of the fight. But like, he's got grappling as well. Like, he has very good defensive grappling as well. And if you're asking me my honest opinion, I think Carlos Diego Ferreira's finishing ability, while his overall top control and grappling isn't necessarily as great as Majdelbek Orolbai's, his finishing ability is better, so I don't see Orolbai being able to get a submission here. I really don't. I think Rebecki's got good takedown defense. His frame is really hard to take down. Like, you have to knock him down to hold him down, I honestly think. And, dude, his takedown defense is really good. And he's strong, and he's physical, and he's powerful. And he's going to be one of those guys that has that 5'7", thick boy frame that's very hard for Majdelbek Orolbai to take down. Now, there's moments where Orolbai could get to the back here and maybe drag him down like that, but I don't see him just shooting a blast double and having it work. I think Rebecki knows what Orolbai wants to do. I think he's going to focus on stuffing the takedowns, blasting the lead leg, and that's going to open up the shots upstairs that he's going to land. And I think he's going to end up winning via third round TKO. I can just see Orolbai crumbling, getting tired, and stuffing a takedown, like Rebecki stuffing a takedown, and somehow getting on top and landing elbows in a finishing sequence and finishing Majdelbek Orolbai by TKO with ground and pound elbows. The ref has seen enough, comes in and stops it. You might even see a gnarly cut on Orolbai's head in this fight. I'm going Rebecki at the plus 240 dog. I'm taking it, dude. I'm doing it. Moving on. Jeff Neal, RDA. It's Jeff Neal. RDA's 39. He has the smaller reach. He's the shorter guy. He's going up in a weight class. And I know what you're saying. Well, he should be much faster than Jeff Neal because he's coming up from featherweight or coming up from lightweight, and it's RDA. Like, RDA's crafty and good, and he can implement takedowns, right? Did we forget that Jeff Neal is the best has the best takedown defense in all of welterweight? Shavkat couldn't get him to the ground. Bilal wasn't getting him to the ground. This dude goes in there and he outboxes everyone. Now, Shavkat looked really fucking good in their fight, but Jeff Neal also looked really good, showed that Shavkat is human and he can be tagged. Jeff Neal made Shavkat look as human as anyone has possibly made him look, and he did it by a long shot. The only guy that gave Shavkat Rakhmonov a tough fight, made him bite down on the mouthpiece and show us who he really is. Then he has a close fight with Neil Magny not Neil Magny, he lost to Neil Magny, which I hate, but it's not indicative of what this matchup will look like. Then he has a fight with Ian Gary, which he loses a split decision that was very, very close. And he kind of just let that fight slip away from him because I think in his mind he thought, well, I think I'm doing more. I got more of the clinch here, and Ian Gary's not fucking landing on me. He's hitting my hands. I would have liked to see Jeff Neal do more in that fight, but I think he knew the danger that was coming at him with Ian Gary. Ian Gary's very lanky and long and uses his kicks and his jab very well, where RDA is the smaller guy coming up from a smaller weight class. Again, it's going to be southpaw versus southpaw, so it's not going to be that outside foot battle that Jeff Neal sometimes focuses on a little too much. I think this is going to be held a lot at boxing range, and I think Jeff Neal is going to piece up RDA at boxing range and end up winning a very dominant and brutal decision. Let's not forget, Jeff Neal made Vicente Luque not the same fighter ever again. Jeff Neal doesn't get taken down, So RDA is not going to be able to implement his grappling. He may have moments where he's holding him up against the cage, but Jeff Neal was able to reverse those clinch positions and end up pushing Shavkat Rakhmonov against the cage. What do you think he's going to do to RDA? I think he's going to be able to hit those elbows off the break, and I think he's going to be able to land really good combinations. Watch out for that lead hook from Jeff Neal. He likes to go jab, 2, 3. And I think that right hook is going to land a lot on RDA. And I think that left hand coming right down the middle is going to land a lot too. I think you're going to see very basic fighting from Jeff Neal. Not a lot of low kicks. Now that's the thing. RDA, if he's smart, he's blasting low kicks and he's blasting a lot of them early. But I think Jeff Neal knows. He's got great coaches in his corner. Does he have Hoof? I forget if it's Henry Hoof. Oh no, he's at Fortis. So I really think Jeff Neal's going to get it done, man. I do. And I don't think it's a hot take. He's minus 300, so of course it's not, but I think he's going to box up RDA. He's going to win a 30-26 brutal, ugly-looking decision that might retire RDA, man. He might. So we'll see, but I'm going Jeff Neal. I don't think this is actually the featured prelim. I've seen a bunch of different card setups and jumbling for the card. Ibo Aslan, Rafael Cerqueira. Cerqueira started as a slight underdog. A lot of the money's going to him. Now, Ibo Aslan's powerful. He's dangerous. He's so fucking hittable. He has a loss to Anton Turkalj. And then he has a win where he went toe-to-toe in a war with Anton Turkalj. I don't rate Anton Turkalj, dude. I don't think he's that good. Paulo Hanato Jr. was just a fat guy that he beat up on the Contender Series. I don't like the competition Ibo Aslan's faced. Now, not to say that Rafael Cerqueira, I'm going to just call him Rafael because I'm not going to be able to get that name right. Not that he's faced the highest level of competition, but when you see this guy fight, he's explosive, he's fast, he's powerful, he's big, he's just as big as Ibo Aslan. And I think he's far more precise with his striking. Ibo Aslan stands super flat-footed and doesn't move his head. I think that Rafael is going to be able to kick that leg a couple times, hit the body a little bit, get the hands coming down, and just beat him up with punches. Ibo Aslan doesn't move well on his feet. His feet stand so flat-footed that fighting a guy as fast and as explosive as Rafael here, in round 1, I think Ibo's getting starched, dude. And I think he's getting put out cold. Now, there's been talk about how bad the gloves have been and how the knockouts are going down, which is 100% correct. We're seeing far more TKOs and damage-based decisions going out. We're not seeing a lot of just people get left stiff in the octagon. I think Rafael is going to leave Ibo Aslan stiff in the octagon in this fight. I don't think Ibo moves his head, man, and that's what I'm basing it off of. Ibo's head's right there on the line, and his feet are so flat. He is such a flat-footed fighter that Rafael's going to catch him in the first round and knock him out stiff as a board. So we're going to move on to the pay-per-view. Now, I told you the co-main and the main event are going to get far more detailed predictions later this week. I'm going to give you my predictions, but make sure you tune in later in the week for the detailed predictions of those final 2 fights. Now, we're going to start with the opening card. It's Shara Magomedov versus Armen Petrosyan. I don't think Shara's that good. I think he can be grappled very easily, and I think someone that can put crazy pressure on and get into boxing range will box him up and beat him up. Armen Petrosyan's not that guy. He's not going to implement the wrestling. He's going to go point fight for point fight, kicking the inside low kick, kicking the inside leg, blasting a body kick, throwing a jab out there, trying to pop the head back a little bit, maybe a check hook. Don't see him throwing the backhand too often here. I don't see him throwing the back leg too often here unless it's to the legs of Shara Magomedov. I think Shara's too fast for him. I think he's too crisp for him. And if you're going to try and point fight on the feet with Shara Magomedov, you're going to lose. And I think that's all Armen Petrosyan really has in his game. I think Shara is going to piece him up. I don't think we're getting a knockout. I think we're getting a 30-27 unanimous decision. Shara is going to look really good in this fight, masterclassing Armen Petrosyan, and that's going to set him up for one of those bigger fights. And he is going to get upset once he gets one of those fighters. And listen, I do predictions for every card, so you're going to know when it's the guy. Armen Petrosyan's not the guy to beat Shara Magomedov. Shara's going to win, and he's going to win a very easy decision here. Moving on, Lerone Murphy, Dan Ige. This is a banger of a fight. And Dan Ige is a live dog. but I'm not taking him. I'm taking Lerone Murphy. I think Lerone Murphy is the perfect matchup to beat a guy like Dan Ige. If you're going to beat Lerone Murphy, I just think you got to be a little bit, I don't want to say higher. Like Dan Ige is a high level, like really good fighter, decent wrestling, decent jiu-jitsu, like good wrestling, decent jiu-jitsu, good power in the boxing, really good snappy short left hook. Goes out there to fight you, and he is as tough as nails. That is the best attribute about him, is that he is tough as fucking nails. Lerone Murphy's a dog, man. He really is. And I think he's going to be able to land a couple of really good step-in elbows here, as long as, and stay on the outside. The southpaw, like Lerone Murphy, it says here is an orthodox, but he's going to go out there and he's going to fight him southpaw. He's going to blast that inside low kick, and he's going to be able to land that backhand a lot. I can see him using the jab to kind of set up that backhand, and you're going to see him kind of range find with it and start to land a two down the middle really, really well, really cleanly. You're going to see as Dan Ige blitzes in, I think Dan Ige's going to have moments where he gets frustrated that he's unable to find Lerone Murphy. He's going to blitz in, and then Lerone Murphy is going to step in and land an elbow right on the chin, and it's going to hurt Dan Ige and rock him. I think he's going to do that a couple of times. I think Lerone Murphy's a little bit faster. He's taller. The reach, he's got a slight advantage there, and I like his ability to fight out of a different stance more than I do Dan Ige's. I think Lerone Murphy can go to the southpaw if he wants, and I just don't see Dan Ige matching that for him. If it gets into the grappling, Dan Ige, I definitely think is the better wrestler, but I don't think he's going to be able to get Lerone Murphy down. I think Lerone Murphy defensively is very, very good. Dan Ige's going to need to get Lerone Murphy back against the cage, and I think Lerone Murphy's going to do the opposite to Dan Ige. I think he's going to be able to get Dan Ige backing up. I think he's going to threaten with knees and things up the middle that are really going to make Dan Ige question throwing that overhand and dipping his head low. I think that's going to be a moment where he can get tagged. He might wear a couple knees to the body, and I think Lerone Murphy's going to be better in the clinch as well, so I can see moments where Ige goes to grapple, Lerone Murphy gets underhook, stuffs it, ends up pushing Ige to the pushing Ige back to the cage, getting the tie clinch and landing a couple of good knees and being able to separate and get back at range and start picking them apart again. So I'm going to go Lerone Murphy to win a decision here, 30-27. I'm doing it. You're damn right I'm doing it. Alexander Rakic wins this fight. Or Magomed Ankalaev gets a robbery decision. Ank's good, dude. He's a really good fighter. But if you're going to ask me, like, who's the type of fighter made to beat Ankalaev? Now, if you go back and you look, I made a video about the fighters in each division that are most likely to dethrone, not most likely, who I think have the best physical chance, matchup-wise, to dethrone a current champion. If I did that for Magomed Ankalaev, I wouldn't have said Alex Pereira. I would have said Alexander Rakic. I think Jamal Hill's another one of those guys. But I think Alexander Rakic has the best chance. Alexander Rakic has the second best low kick in the division. Maybe third. Like, him and Jan Blachowicz are very, very close, but I'm going to give the lean to Rakic after that Yuri Prochazka fight, even though he lost it. Pereira's obviously number one. Ankalaev has showed a tremendous weakness. Why is he listed as orthodox, bro? He's a southpaw. What are we talking about here? Am I fucking crazy? Because I swear Lerone Murphy's a southpaw too. Am I crazy? I think Magomed Ankalaev is a southpaw, and I don't know what I'm seeing here, but I guess he can switch stances, yes, but like I feel like I see him fight predominantly southpaw, like especially against Kudalaba, especially against Johnny Walker. Even against Ankh, dude. That's why he was able to land that low kick. Oh, maybe. Maybe. I don't know. I'm pretty sure he's a southpaw. I think that Rakic is going to be able to land some... Again, dude, I've been saying it all card. Inside low kicks are going to be the fucking theme of this card. Thank God Joe Rogan's not on commentary, because I can't hear him go all gobbledygoo on fucking every single person's rod that starts blasting inside low kicks, because that's going to be annoying. Thank God we don't got Joe Rogan for this one, man. Again, love the podcast. Shit commentary as of the past year and a half. 2 years. 3 years. Magomed Ankalaev, Alexander Rakic. Alexander Rakic is getting the win. He's going to chew up Ank's legs. And I think if Ankh tries to shoot and hold against the cage, I do think Rakic has the skill and the ability to separate and land his own shots. Ankalaev's going to walk forward. I think Rakic is going to invite that and try and do this, the Volk thing, counter the counter. He's going to throw the jab a couple times, land it. See the reactions from Ankalaev. Ankalaev's going to start trying to counter the jab, but you're going to see Rakic start to feint it as Ankalaev wants to counter. So you're going to see the feint jab. Ank comes in with the left hand or the kick to counter, and that's when Rakic is going to go slip 1-2, land good shots on Ankalaev. Or just the two down the middle to throw Ankalaev off. Land a check hook as Ankalaev stepping in. Circle to the outside. Blast another low kick. Start jabbing the body. I think that we might see a Rakic masterclass, man. We might be in for a Rakic masterclass. Look at this. He's got the reach, too. And everyone looks at Alexander Rakic. Dude, he lost to Jiri Prochazka. Who has it in light heavyweight other than Alex Pereira? So that's first of all. I get it. Jiri was losing to Glover. Glover brings a different kind of problem. Tremendous grappling, and he's got fucking old man power. Like, the dude didn't go away in that fight. He's one of the best Glovers ever looked, and he ended up losing. Jiri Prochazka was getting his fucking ass beat the whole time, and Rakic just looked at him and was like, dude, when is this guy gonna go away? And Jiri never went away. You could see it physically drain Rakic and just start sucking the life out of him. And that's when Rakic started to wilt, because he was getting a couple shots landed on him, and he just didn't know what else to do. It was just Jiri tracking him down the whole time, and the guy wouldn't go the fuck away. Now, Rakic destroyed that leg of Jiri. He also cracked the chin a number of times, which is part of what could have made it so easy for Alex Pereira to knock out Jiri. He hit him with the hook, and hit him with the left high kick. I think his chin was taken a little bit by Alexander Rakic in that fight in April. I think that's part of what had to do with it. Listen, man, I get it. Magomed Ankalaev's really good, and he's going to beat a lot of guys in the division. He has, at light heavyweight, I think him or the other guy that I mentioned in the video, which I think was Collar Solberg, I think Magomed Ankalaev is one of the best chances of beating Alex Pereira in this division. I truly do. He's a great wrestler, but he's primarily a kickboxer, and he likes to kind of march you down. But he's very low output. Ankalaev throws crazy power, but he's low output. And I think that a guy like Alexander Rakic can start throwing a lot of strikes, really mess up the rhythm of Ankalaev, again, blast that inside low kick, land a couple of good counters, and I think he's going to win by countering the counter in this fight and end up winning a decision here. And I think it's going to look like a masterclass, and you're going to get a scorecard for Magomed Ankalaev because the sport is rigged. You are. But I have hope. Because I think the UFC wants to keep Ankalaev so far away from Alex Pereira that it might be difficult to give Magomed Ankalaev a robbery here. I think you got the clash of the two right here, you know what I mean? So, you have Abu Dhabi and the people of that area wanting Ankalaev to win. Then you have the UFC saying, fuck you, Ankalaev, we're giving you a Rakic fight because it's the hardest one for you to take. And then they set these crazy odds, and it's only getting better for Ankalaev? Give me Alexander Rakic to win a decision all day, just absolutely masterclassing Magomed Ankalaev in the striking, and we have to talk about the grappling really quick. Magomed Ankalaev can grapple, he can get takedowns, he's not getting them against Alexander Rakic. Alexander Rakic has the perfect frame, and he has tremendous takedown defense. Rakic is very good. He's very, very good. And he's going to piece up Magomed Ankalaev in this fight. We're going big underdog here. Alexander Rakic getting it done. Underdog what? Underdog who? We're picking him again. It's Robert Whittaker. Robert Whittaker's going to beat Khamzat Chimaev. That first fucking round is scary as shit. I will not bet on this fight. I can't bet on this fight. I can't, dude. It'll just skew my perception of how things are actually going in the fight. It'll ruin the rest of my day if it doesn't go my way. Because if I bet this fight, I'm not betting on Khamzat because I want Whittaker and Khamzat's minus 250 odds are terrible to take. People like to say that Whittaker crumbles, man, when it's these big fights. Whittaker, dude, he doesn't get it done. He doesn't. People can impose his will on him. Dude, he loses the fight. The fights that he loses are the ones that everyone looks at him and goes, he should win. This should be an easy fight for him. There's no real danger here. Because I don't think he takes his training as seriously or as intensely if he's facing someone that's not as much of a kill threat to him. Ikram was a scary threat. He didn't know what he was facing. He knew he had a guy with a lot of power, good grappling, and someone that he had to show levels to. And he did that. Paulo Costa, dangerous, walk forward, powerful guy that he had to heavily prepare for. He decisioned him cleanly. All he did was get caught with one kick, guys, and everyone went nuts. And Joe Rogan kept talking about how gross Robert Whittaker's leg was when Paulo Costa's leg was the one that was fucking destroyed. Lost to Dricus. Listen, everyone wrote Dricus off in this fight, except for Hayjive. Hayjive always picks Dricus, and he fucking nails it, so kudos. That's a great pick. But Dricus is one of those guys that now we know, like, this is a guy that, oh, he's scary, dude. He's got power. He can hurt people very, very badly. He's really, really good. Good grappler. Got good striking. Power. Scary. Dangerous. We know that now because of what he did to Robert Whittaker. Going into that fight, it was like, dude, Whittaker is going to batter this guy. He's got no technique. He gasses out. He's not that good. He's overrated. All this, all that. Whittaker goes out there. Everyone's telling him he's going to win, and he loses. I don't think he prepared as well as he should have for that fight. Vettori. This is a guy that was coming off a big win. Someone that was, in the division. And again, he wasn't that scary, but Whittaker looked really fucking good. Israel Adesanya won. Whittaker won this fight. He did. He really did win this fight. Fought Kelvin Gastelum. Kelvin Gastelum took it on short notice. There's just levels in the sport at times, so... Cannonier, dangerous guy. Everyone was fucking terrified of him. Robert Whittaker went out there and looked one of the best he's ever looked. Romero did it twice. He gets these scary fights and he steps it up a notch. Now, Khamzat Chimaev's a fucking dog. And I think Khamzat Chimaev's going to have his way in the first round without the finish. I think he's going to be able to get a takedown, really start to go for it against Robert Whittaker, and Whittaker's just going to survive that round. Round 2, Khamzat's going to come out hot again, trying to get the finish immediately early, throwing crazy shots, shooting takedowns. The takedowns start to get stuffed. Whittaker is starting to get his momentum, and he's starting to move forward, and you're seeing Khamzat's getting tired. Not only is he getting tired, he's getting discouraged, and Whittaker starts taking over as the fight goes on. He's landing combinations. He's defending more and more takedowns. Khamzat's trying to push him against the cage. He's able to scoot out from behind it. Now, there is the opportunity for Khamzat to just stall this fight out against the cage. I don't think he will. I think Khamzat's more of a finisher, more of a, really wants to go out there and fight and not stall out. But if they're sitting there standing on the feet, and I'm watching Khamzat get gassed out against Kamaru Usman when Khamzat's the one that has the most notice to take the fight. Listen, I'm not going to talk about middleweight because Kamaru Usman is one of the best fighters at welterweight and middleweight. We're not going to talk about weight and size because Khamzat was also going up from welterweight. But, you're gassing out against Usman through 3 rounds, and Usman took it on short notice, 10 days notice, and he's the guy in better condition than you? Now, I get you're training crazy hard, and we have all this crazy footage, and Khamzat hype is real. And he is a scary, powerful dude. But Robert Whittaker beat Ikram Alascarov's ass way better than Khamzat did. He did. And guys, we're looking at age difference. It's a 3-year difference. Whittaker's fought the best multiple times. Khamzat Chimaev's just walked through guys that just, candidly, he's had a couple good names on here. Usman's a great name, great win. Should have been a draw. Honestly, should have been a draw. I think Usman won rounds 2 and 3, and then I'll give Khamzat the 10-8 in round 1, even though it's a little bit of a soft 10-8. But it is what it is. It's 10-8. I gave it to him when I was watching live. I'm not going back on that. Sub Kevin Holland. Welcome to the club. Kevin Holland just lost to Dolidze because his rib popped out, but he got taken down and was getting controlled before the rib popped out. Then he won a decision against Gilbert Burns. 170 guy. And again, that decision was over 2 years ago now. 2.5 years ago now. Just about 2.5 years. Yeah, it's 2.5 years ago to this point. He went life and death with Gilbert Burns, who's a stud, tough fighter, but now we're seeing Gilbert Burns has kind of gotten over that hill. He subbed the Leech, who just got knocked out by Pratis, and the Leech would rather strike with you than grapple with you. He knocked out Meerschaert. It's a tailor-made matchup for him. It was back in 2020. I don't like the activity from Khamzat. I don't like all the shit that he's always got going on in the background. I like how hard Whittaker's fought. Whittaker's the one that asked for this fight. And I think Whittaker's going to be able to take control as the fight continues to go on. So give me Robert Whittaker for a pick, man. He's going to get it done. Either a late round TKO or a decision that gets dicey because I don't trust the fucking judges. So Whittaker, please survive that first round and start battering Khamzat in rounds 2, 3, and 4. Do not start dropping the second round. Don't let Khamzat impose his will in the second round. You let him tire himself out in round 1. You stay alive. You stay surviving. You don't get 10-8'd. You have your little moments. But you are fighting this fight for rounds 2, 3, 4, 5. And you need to go out there, impose your will at the start of round 2, and start winning exchanges. whether it be in the grappling or the striking. You got to start winning exchanges, and you got to start doing it in round 2. If you can do it in round 1, fucking awesome. Khamzat's going to be even more tired. But Whittaker's got to be careful he doesn't gas himself out either. But I trust that Robert Whittaker is facing the scariest test that he has had in quite some time. And I think it's going to make him thrive, and I think he's going to come out on top. And he might just skip the line for the title shot against Dricus du Plessis. Don't quote me. Now we're moving on. First of all, plus 200 for Max Holloway is criminal. I don't care I don't care if he's fighting Khabib. I don't care if he's fighting anybody on God's green. He can be fighting John Jones. Plus 200 for Max Holloway is a little too much. All right? You know, Max Holloway ain't zesty like that, so I don't know if Jones really wants to go in. But plus 200 is crazy. This is a 50-50 fight to me, man. Because there are holes in Ilya's game to exploit. There are. Obviously, that right side of the head is pretty open to some kicks. Max is taller. They have similar reach, but Max is taller, and he's good at using that height. And Max is throwing good kicks, too. He's throwing great spin kicks. Like, he busted Gaethje's nose up with a tremendous spin kick, and I think he's going to be able to have moments where he can do that against Ilya. And I think he's going to be able to pour it on Ilya early, and I think Ilya's going to have moments where, yeah, he hurts Max a little bit, but Max isn't going away, and that starts to frustrate him. And Max is starting to tally up the numbers. And he's tallying them up, and you're going, wait a minute. Dude, Max is putting together really good combinations. That jab is popping Ilya's head back. Oh, Ilya's landing a great counter. I think we're going to have a back-and-forth fight the whole fucking time. And I don't know who's going to win. But right now, today, before my detailed one comes out later this week, give me Max Holloway for the pick. I'm doing it. I don't know. Dude, I have this weird feeling. I've been saying Ilya all the way up to this moment right now. To this moment right now, it's been Ilya to me the whole time. Being able to win, not by a knockout, but getting knockdowns. Having those punches that really spin Holloway's head back, hurting him, damaging him, making Holloway do the duck walk. I got this feeling, bro. It's in my heart, it's in my soul that, like, Max is going to pull this one off. I just got a feeling. I think his jab's going to be I think he's going to pepper Ilya with the jab, and I think he's going to wait for Ilya's counters. And then he's going to get out of the way. I don't think that, and Max, the reason Volk got caught, like, Volk was beating Ilya. It was scary the whole time, but the reason why is because we kept seeing it. Volk kept moving back with his hands down and his chin up. You can't do that against Ilya. Max keeps his hands right here the whole time. Decently high guard. And lands his shots and moves his head really well. Gets back to home base. Volk wasn't really getting back to home. Volk just doesn't really get back to home base. Max always does. He's always back up here. Home base, hands up by his head. Making sure that even if, like, they're not directly up here by his head, they're out in front of his face, so they're trying to, like, block and parry. And I think Max is going to be able to tally up the strikes. I think Ilya's going to get frustrated, and the technique's going to start going away a little bit. You're going to see him start to try and use the grappling, and we're going to really see how good Max's grappling defense actually is. Now, I think there can be moments where Ilya does hold Max against the cage, he hears the boos, and Ilya's like, fuck, I don't want to be booed. I want to be the famous guy. I want to be the guy that goes out there and puts Max Holloway away. And I think once he hears the boos, he separates elbows, combinations against the fence. Max needs to keep his back away from the fence in this fight. Ilya needs to keep walking forward. Max is a nightmare matchup for Ilya. Ilya is a nightmare matchup for Max. This is the best fight you could make in the UFC, period. I know I want to see Jones Aspinall. Fuck Jones Aspinall when it comes to this fight. This is the fight that we all want to see, that we need to see. You have two real bad motherfuckers in this fight. Two of the best in the world. And they have proved it. I think Max is going to be able to tally up the strikes and win a decision here, man. And I think he's going to be able to use his kicks very well. And we're seeing a Max Holloway that not only has shown us that he does have that power, he's not just going out there and volume striking the whole time anymore. He's able to counter really, really well. He's able to choose when he wants his shots to go. He's been more patient. I said this about patient Gaethje, man. Gaethje just, like, turned this switch where when he was fighting, it was all bloodbath all the time for Justin Gaethje. He's going in there, he's going to throw a ton of strikes, and he's going to wing at you, and he's going to take your head off, or his head's getting taken off. then he toned it down and his game went up like crazy. Now, Max Holloway was just pouring strikes on everyone. Ortega, Cater, all these guys. Even Yair. Yair was having good moments against Max, but I look at Max, I look at his fight with Gaethje, I look at his fight with Arnold Allen. While Arnold Allen had a lot of success in that fight in some rounds, Max Holloway still won. He still looked better, and he was far more patient, far more selective, and was able to get it done. Right now, give me Max Holloway via a decision for a pick. And this fight might be so goddamn good and so goddamn close that it gets rematched right away. Give me Max Holloway for the pick. These are the picks and predictions for UFC 308. I hope you enjoyed it. I am so excited for this card. You should be too. 10 o'clock Eastern. Stay tuned. Later in the week, detailed picks for the co-main and main event coming out. Tried to keep them less than 10 minutes for you here because I'm going to get into big-time detail later on. I know the Whittaker one went on for a while, and sorry if you had to see that fucking cowlick. But don't worry, I got a little surprise for you guys coming out later this week. We might do the Bobby Knuckle goatee, but stay tuned if you want to see it. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. These are the picks. By the way, I'm 265 and 160 overall right now. Kid's kind of been in the kitchen. Had a tough week last week of 6-5, but the week before that I went 11-1. And you know, it's time to keep it rolling, guys. It's time to keep it rolling. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe. UFC 308, baby. It's here.